You don't know the answer. This is my
I
answer.
know the answer. My answer.
The favorite thing that you do
First
for
of all,
me
Kyron,
or
stop.
do too.
Walk with integrity. I want my character to be right. I want it to be right for the Most High, first of all. But if I'm representing Him, I'm doing my best to look like Him. You know what I mean? So with that last episode with us. Yo, what's up, everybody? It is episode 3 of YAH Listen to Podcast. First and foremost, thank you all for tapping in, tuning in, subscribing, liking, sharing, making comments, the whole nine. We truly appreciate it. This is our first guest that we are with today. I'm gonna have Ashley introduce the guests and have them do their thing.
What's
You know what I'm
up,
saying?
everybody? Welcome to our episode. We have my sister Tammy and her husband Doug, and they are going to be our guests tonight. And they're gonna give us a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing what my people's got to say.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to touch on communication in marriage. One of the biggest things that we see in the U.S. Amongst married people, you know, when marriages tend to fail, one of the things they mention is, you know, communication issues or conflict and argument. And so we want to kind of touch on that tonight and just encourage people who are married, newly married, or maybe have been married for a while or thinking about getting married or in the process of getting married, whatever your situation is. If you're watching this, we want to encourage you guys and let you know that you know, it's going to be things that come up in the marriage that can be difficult as far as communication, but with work and teamwork from both, you know, husband and wife, you can get through it. So I'm just gonna ask some questions and then we just gonna flow. All right. So let's open up with why do you think communication is important in a marriage? You want to go first?
Sure. Well, for me, it's definitely is the glue to any marriage. Communication will eliminate any expectations that weren't communicated. If you start off a relationship with openly speaking to each other about what your expectations are going into the marriage, I feel that will eliminate, well, not probably totally eliminate, but it will offset some of the problems that will come up later. Because a lot of times we go into relationships and we just do things off the top of our head without really actually verbalizing what we expect in our relationships. So we go into it sort of like blind. So it's very important that you have that open communication from day one. So it's definitely the glue to a relationship. That's the bond that holds everything together.
Yeah,
I agree. It's like, you know, you can have your expectations, but if you don't communicate what your expectations are, the other person's expectations of marriage or whatever may not be exactly the same. So if you're not communicating, how do you even get on the same page? You know, you might look at marriage one way and Kyron might be looking at it a completely different way based on how you were raised, what you saw around you, whatever. So if you don't communicate what you expect out of marriage, it's definitely not going to be held together all wonderfully.
No, for real.
Just to piggyback off what she said about, you know, being raised differently. So I was raised in a household where, you know, this and this had to be done this way. She does things a little differently. But I went into, you know, in the early start of our marriage, expecting that she knew to do it, you know, basically without a lack of a better word, my way.
It took a lot of years for me to go. Just because it don't get done your way don't mean it ain't getting done right.
right.
Exactly. So, but
Right.
again, those were assumptions. I assumed that she knew that about me because maybe it was brought up, but it wasn't talked about. It wasn't thoroughly something we sat down and talked about. Hey,
And focused on that particular
exactly.
thing.
You know,
And
I
I
went in.
just ain't think it was that serious. Like, honestly, a lot of stuff I'm like, it's really not that serious if the dishes get done in this order. You know what I mean? Like something as small as that. It's
This
just
is
Y'all
funny.
about to get me beat up. Ain't even our turn yet.
That's definitely him. I'm like, I need you to put the dishpan in this part of the sink. Not you taking up both sinks.
That's funny.
That's how how you raise. That is so important.
Exactly.
Wow. Real quick, if I can add to that question, what would you say the difference is between
communication and comprehension, because we can communicate all we want, but
Good question.
and I'm doing my part on trying to verbalize how I'm feeling or whatever's on my mind or what I'm trying to get across to you. But if you're not comprehending, you see what I'm saying? I'm about to answer the question I just asked. So you say that, you know what I'm saying? Like how do y'all deal with that? You know what I mean?
To me, if you to show that you comprehend what you were in communication about is the follow through. Are you actually doing what we discussed? And you will see that in the actions of your partner. And if they're not following through, then you didn't really hear me, did you? You just was listening to respond or whatever. You didn't really get understanding for what we talked about. So what's on the follow through? And you don't immediately, okay, day 3, okay, she's not doing it. It takes time.
Yeah.
So how much time? That's that's open.
You heard that? It take time.
But yeah, for me to know that there was actual comprehension is the follow through. And if again, if you love that person, then you're going to listen attentively, and you're gonna wanna please that person, not so to speak like, oh, I bow down to you. It's
Yes,
none
my
of
lord.
that. Yes.
Remember, we got this little joke.
Funny you say that.
We do too.
We do that.
And I be trying to be so funny because that's my way of saying this is how you really want me to react to you when you give an order or some type of instruction. So let me be funny, but really get you to understand like I'm not doing it. So
You gotta
my lord. Would you like the dishes in the dish rack or the dishwasher, my lord?
Yes, my lady.
I'm saying?
We are like the same people in 2 different
That's
stages
crazy.
of marriage.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I'm like, would you like me to tie your shoe now, my lord?
And I'll be like,
See, I don't like anybody try to be funny.
That's right.
That's
Man,
funny.
that's funny. And this is why I love doing stuff like this, because you get to hear from other people who are married, like some of the same similar things that you have going on. And I thought we were the only ones that did that. Like the yes, my lord. I thought that's funny.
I really thought we was the only ones. That's
No.
Well, I appreciate that response. And I think the time piece is perfect, because I think sometimes we have that expectation like that right after I communicated whatever need or want, I need to see it tomorrow. Matter of fact, I need to see it right after we talk.
Right.
And that's been one of my biggest learning points, is understanding that it takes time for people to, grow. It takes time for people to understand and really take what you're saying and apply it. It doesn't mean that they didn't hear you. They have to overcome whatever mindset obstacles they have in order to be able to put forth whatever that action is for the need that you mentioned.
But then that too then once again opens up the whole question of communication, because communicate that I hear you, I understand what you're saying, just give me a minute, because now I have to adjust. And even though I still may not do it exactly the way you want it, I'm still adjusting, because I might do it completely different, but at least now I'm trying to incorporate your way so I can show you I am listening to you. I do understand what you want, and I'm trying to get closer to your way at least. And I think one of the biggest things with stuff like that with Doug is like, yeah, but if you're trying to do it my way, that means you'll do it now, because I want it done now. You know what I mean? Like seriously. But it can go the other way too, because like what did we see something recently where it was like, I need you to do what you said you was gonna do. It was like a funny reel or something. I need you to do what you said you was gonna do. Like, all right, I'm gonna do it when I get done with this game. And she's like, no, like you said you was gonna do it, so you need to be doing it now. And we joke about this one because it was really funny. But like just all of that, sometimes people are like, no, this is important. This should be a priority before you do this, before you do that, before you do that. And then in your mind, you're like, it's really not that serious. I got 5 other things to do. I'm going to prioritize it at some point, but right now I got to finish these other 5 things and then get to that. And then the next time it comes back up, maybe I can make that more of a priority.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. And I guess this kind of like goes right into my next question. So one of the things that we experienced early on in our marriage was definitely communication issues. And so for me, I came from a background of aggressive communicating. So I was the more aggressive one in how I spoke to him, and more combative. And anybody that was watching this that know me know that that was how I used to be. But when I seen how it was causing conflict in my marriage, how it was really I was being a part of the problem. I did some work early on, and I was able to identify my communication style, also be able to identify his,
Right.
and then understand how to communicate with him based off of his communication style, and adjust mine to where I'm not impacting him in a negative way.
Right.
And so, the question I was going to ask was, how important is it to know your spouse's communication in a marriage? And I might have answered it, but I just want to hear y'all perspective.
Right.
Ooh, that's a very good one. And I'm gonna say was because I'm not that person anymore. But I was very combative and aggressive with expressing what I expected or what I wanted done. Because it goes back to how I was raised. My mom
You seem
was
so cool though. You so chill. Like, come back where? I don't
Yeah.
want no problems.
That's all good. But no, it's just my upbringing. My mother was very it was a dictatorship. It was like you get up, everybody knows, especially in Black community, you get up on Saturday morning, this is gonna get done. Nothing else needs to be said about it. For me, getting married to Tammy, where it wasn't so much like that for her growing up, and but I went into it expecting like I had to be like this to get my point across, and it wasn't like that with her because she's very receptive if you talk to her in a manner where she can receive it. She didn't receive yelling, getting in her face, and I thought that's how I had to be to get it done. And once I
And I was
realized
like,
that,
who you talking to?
Doug, like, my method isn't working.
right,
I thought 1 + 1 was 3.
Tiger style
Apparently
not
not.
working. So
It's not working. What's going on here?
right. So yeah, I had to like, do I want to switch up or do I want to lose her? Because it's certain things that will push that spouse away, and it's like, no, it's not worth it for me to come at her that way. Let me find a different approach, and better yet, listen to how she said, I would like to be communicated to.
Yeah.
And once I got that under my belt, things were a lot smoother.
Yeah.
So
Look, I need to be raising my hand, Lord. Thank you for delivering.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
there's that, and then I think too, just even like, and because I know we've had conversations before, even when you're in the midst of a disagreement, the way that you communicate with each other, then like I'm that person that, and I got on his everlasting nerve, I will keep communicating until it gets resolved. We can be at this
oh man,
for 3 hours, but it needs to get resolved.
I'm like, make it go away.
No, for real.
Can I get a break?
Yeah.
No, but he's like, oh my God, Justin. And I'm like, yes, because like I've always believed in don't go to bed mad and all that stuff. So like if you have something going on, like, why are you not getting this? Why? And then when it gets to the point where like he would get to the point where he just like shut down, like, so now you're not gonna talk at all. Now you're just not gonna say
That right
anything?
there
Cold shoulder. Yeah.
build up.
So like
Fire inside.
man.
You gonna talk?
Oh, I see your hand
Yeah,
raised.
that's
brother.
my problem. I'd admit.
Yes, yes.
So it's like, honestly, it has just gotten so much better. And it's just because, once again, of communicating. Like, if we're disagreeing about something and I'm trying to get you to understand my point, maybe I won't change your mind, but understand where I'm coming from to know, like, I'm not trying to disrespect you or do any, whatever. I'm just trying to get you to understand where I'm coming from. And then you can say, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but I still don't agree. Okay. But if you just like shut down, now you're not going to talk at all. Now you're make me mad. And now I want to keep going until you acknowledge the fact that I'm standing here talking.
Right.
Come on now, be nice. Now.
Don't.
So let me ask this, right? What does agreeing to disagree look like for the both of you? Because like you said, like you said, you can go 3 hours straight until the problem is solved. And yes, I agree. You don't want to go to bed mad at each other. You don't want to, you know what I mean? You don't want to do that. But so what does agreeing to disagree look like?
You want that one?
Sure. For me, it was not good. It was the shutting down. In my way, that was me telling her like, okay, I'm good. But it wasn't verbalized. So again, I had to learn to, which a lot of men have to do, is pull back on your what's the word
Take
I'm
that bass out your voice.
your pride, so to speak.
Yeah.
So learning to swallow my pride and be like, babe, okay, you're right. I don't see it your way, and you probably not gonna see it mine. But this is something maybe we can probably revisit. So that was our agreeing to disagree until we could find a more suitable way of coming to a common ground and understanding.
And honestly, I'm more prone to do it his way when he acknowledges that, okay, you got your way, I got mine. We're probably not going to agree on it. But because I love him, because, he matters to me, okay, I can go do it your way. Like, I didn't make a big thing. Let's go back to the dishes. I ain't make a big thing about wash the dishes, dry the dishes, put them away right this moment. Like, I'm like, they clean. They in the dish rack or they in the dishwasher. They clean. And I got 5 other things to do. So, but he was raised that way. You do the whole thing all at once. I'm like, dude, I don't have time to do all that all at once right now. Like, seriously, when you've got little children and they have activities and you have your own stuff and everything, and like, I'm tired. I'm just now able to take naps. My children are almost 20 and 18, the babies.
Yeah.
Like, and then we had the older children too. So at one point we had 4 children in the house, and it's a lot to do where you have to be able to compromise. You have to be able to like take a step back and like, all right, at least she washed them. Let me go dry them and put them away. You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of stuff that you just have to be able to pull back and, all right, she didn't do it my way, but she did.
It's done.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that question, because that kind of tied into something else I was gonna ask. But when you have when you have the difficulty of being able to agree to disagree, all it does is it lingers, because somebody wants to be right. Like we mentioned pride, like somebody wants to be right. And for us, I'll never forget, I heard someone say, we would argue, and if we just couldn't come to an agreement, we would put the topic on the shelf, and if it was worth coming back to, we would come back to it. And that, we literally took that in, because there was a lot of times where it's just like, he got to be right, I got to be right, and 2 people that got to be right at the same time, that that clash is different. And so like that agreeing to disagree, and I'm one of those people, I will argue you down to the ground.
Amen.
Like,
no, sis, you got to change it.
oh, now I used to.
So
I'm looking.
Doug bought me a shirt.
Looking.
He bought me a shirt one time that said, "I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining why I'm right."
That's crazy.
And I was like,
I'm just
basically what a great way to say, yeah.
That's funny.
But that's how it be though. And I think to a degree, I don't disagree that some arguments don't need to be had. And I'm not, because when we hear the word argue, we think the most negative thing about it.
Right.
And I had to actually learn the definition of argument.
The actual definition.
To understand. And I don't got to pull it up at this moment, but y'all go ahead and Google that. But I had to learn the definition of it, so that way I can understand that it's not unhealthy. Sometimes arguments come up to address some things that maybe one person felt like they couldn't talk about, or maybe something's going on in the conversation just needed to be had. What I think happens is we get into this conversation and it becomes difficult to maybe navigate sometimes, and so that's why I like to agree to disagree.
Right.
Right now we just ain't on the same page, and knowing your limit too, because it's all about self-control at the end of the day. Like,
Absolutely.
if 2 people are having this conversation and nobody has the strength to be like, okay, let's walk away, that can also be a bad thing.
Yep.
So yeah. Got any input, baby? Quiet over there.
Well, no. I'm glad we're on this topic, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you saying you're not a fan of agreeing to disagree?
No, I mean, I am.
Okay.
Did I say that?
Okay. You probably did. I was hearing it.
Oh,
I heard it another way. That's
yeah,
why I'm glad
no.
I asked. See, that's communication. I
Yeah.
asked
Oh,
versus
ooh.
on because I could have
It-
jumped
One
right
of this
into
other
it.
one.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm good for that. So that's crazy how I just accidentally fell into that. But I'm good for hearing things how I thought it was computed or how it was delivered, and I'll run with it. And even just this, like we're joking about it, but for me, this shows my growth because I thought I heard one thing one way, and it's like, well, so what does I was about to come in ready, like, well, so what you mean we can't agree to disagree? Like this better be a whole nother new episode that y'all didn't even ask for. You know what I mean? But I'm glad we're on the same page of agreeing to disagreeing because you still are entitled to who you are, and I'm still entitled to who I am, and we are one, but we still have our at times our individual thinking. But it's how we communicate with each other about what I think about this thing and what you think about this thing. You know what I mean? Now, how far it goes, that's up to us. Like we should have some type of self control where it's like, okay, we shouldn't be like rah rah. You know what I mean? It should not have to get to that point. But when it's getting ready to get there, one of our methods is right in the midst of it, as soon as it get ready to, go overboard. All right, nope, stop. Like legit, like come to an abrupt stop. Pray, and then we'll communicate. And what that looks like for us is, okay, say what you want to say. If I literally got to stand there like this to make sure I don't say nothing, because sometimes you can still want to kind of jump in. You ever did double dutch? You be like, getting ready to get crazy with it. I got to be like, nope, let me let her get it all out. Say everything you got to say. Now it's my turn. Now that doesn't mean for me to try and top her, but you know what I mean? Oh, you thought you did something? Watch this. You know what I mean? But let me explain myself, and then we can have dialogue because we allowed each other that floor to be able to express ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's my input.
The other question I was gonna ask, it just left my mind. It wasn't the one I'm about to ask now, but it literally just left my mind. Lord, bring it back.
You said something I said triggered something. You was like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm glad you said."
Oh, okay. So if you have to have a difficult conversation and you already know it's going to be a difficult one based on each other's communication styles, how are you going into these conversations? Like what tools are you going into this with?
First of all, pray.
You took the words right out my mouth.
First
Absolutely.
of
There you
all,
go.
Absolutely.
pray.
Seek the Most High in all things.
Yep.
Especially if you're going to go into a difficult conversation. Because one thing we don't want is, again, misunderstanding and things to be misconstrued. And, you don't want that wedge in the relationship. And this is why the Most High comes into play in all things in a marriage.
Yep.
Period.
My man.
And it was something that Kevin said.
On that one.
Oh my goodness, something you said that made me wanna. Oh, when you said, sometimes you hear things. So Doug and I talk about all the time. You have to look at it both ways, right? Because what you're saying and what you're trying to get across, you want to make sure that your spouse hears what you're saying and that comes across at the same time as being the listener. You hear it from your place of perception.
Yeah.
So, like it would be a lot of times where I would say something and Doug would be like, "Oh, you're like, what did you say? You're coming down on me or you're bashing me or something?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm just trying to tell you." But it's really, it's based on like, I'm trying to say something to you. I'm trying to tell you what I need from you and tell you that you're giving me the opposite of what I need from you. But all you're hearing is what I'm telling you, what you're not doing. I'm telling you, like whatever. And I'm like, dude, that's not what I said.
And again, this goes back to upbringing because I would respond that way because a lot of times this is how my mom or my dad would come at me. It was in a condescending way. Like, you failed to do this, you failed to do that. And not dealing with that as I grew, and then you go into a relationship not healed from that. That's what you hear. So she's never been that person. She's always had my back. But in that moment, you're a child again and your mom and dad are coming down on you.
Wow.
So this is what I had to learn and be able to move forward with and be able to understand, no, this woman has my back. So whatever she's telling me is not only helping me, but it's going to help me be a better leader.
Yeah.
And be able to, sustain my family.
It's very, 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 very powerful. Very powerful statement. One, because, most of y'all know that I was led to go into the field of mental health therapy. And I don't like to give glory to mental health because we all know at the end of the day, it all has a lot to do with, you know, unresolved conflict in the mind. We know it's spiritual for us that really are like believers, and we know how it worked. But it is something that people deal with. And I always go back to childhood. And I think that's been able to help me to kind of communicate with Kyron better over the last maybe few years because, and I'm not going to speak too much on it because I'm going to let him get a chance to tell, how his upbringing was as far as things that contributed to his communication style. But when I think about what I know about that, I'm like, okay, I need to be a little bit more softer in my approach because he's used to the aggression, and you can't get anything across to somebody who they've dealt with that their whole life. It's just like it's like a familiar spirit, and you don't want that. I was just talking to someone that I know, and she was like, yeah, for a second when this person said this, I'm like, I know that spirit. I know that comment. And sometimes we don't realize that we're doing that. So, I'll let you speak to that if you comfortable. speaking to it.
No. For me, I mean, just like you said, you had to work on how you were communicating with me when it come down to the you being aggressive, because that's what I grew up in, you know what I mean? And when it's coming from, for me, when it was coming from my mom, it was like I have the utmost respect for my mother. So even if I did nothing wrong and I'm still being attacked in a way, or her communicating was super aggressive, I would literally just go mute because I don't want to even like respond the right way, because in my mind that's still disrespect for the fact I'm saying something back to my parent. So now,
Because so many of us were raised that way.
yep. So now here's where I learned that here's why I go wrong, but not knowing it at the time. I'm now getting older, and because of the respect I have for my mom and not knowing how to deal with conflict, or at least speaking up for myself, because there's still a way for you to speak to your parent and advocate for yourself, but it don't be in a disrespectful way.
Right.
I never knew nothing about none of that. All I know is to respect her is to not say nothing.
Nothing at all.
Now I'm bringing that with me as I'm getting older. Now I'm living on my own. Now I'm dealing with different conflict and different issues where I need to speak up for myself and I won't. And because I'm telling myself say something, but the fear of whatever result it will come out to be, I don't want to deal with it. I don't made up the whole conclusion in my mind. So to not deal with it, let me not say nothing.
Right.
So now I'm a man. Now I have a child. You know what I mean? And there's now, once you're a parent, there's going to be a whole bunch of different situations that's going to come up where you gotta advocate for yourself and speak up for yourself. And I'm still struggling with it. Now I'm married, where she needs me to communicate, where she needs me to open up and talk about certain things, and I'm having a hard time doing it. And I'm wondering what's wrong with her, because I'm trying not to, make things go left. That whole train of thought came back from my childhood. So now I till this day, I feel like I've gotten a lot better with it, but there's still times where it's like, okay, I need to figure out, like, you ever hear the term, and I hate this term, happy wife, happy life, right?
Oh my goodness. That's the
Like
most
my
ridiculous thing.
uncle taught me that a long time ago, and I carry that with me because I this is my uncle.
Right.
If you one of my elders, I got respect for you. So you must be putting me on to some game. What you're saying must be right.
Right.
So here I am bringing that into my marriage with this happy wife, happy life mindset. And already on top of the way I communicate, you know what, to please her, as soon as she going
Exactly.
off, don't say nothing. You got it. Just do what you
Right.
know what I mean? I have a voice. I still have an opinion about this particular situation.
Right.
But to keep you happy, let me just, and to keep this life happy, let me not say anything.
Right.
It's doing more damage than you think it is.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering why we're spiraling. I'm wondering why, all these different, because all that's doing is bleeding into other parts of your marriage.
Yes.
Now you got troubles here, all because you won't
speak up.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm glad and grateful to say that I've gotten a lot better, but I have this method where as soon as I get to that point where it's hard for me to communicate, I literally have to snatch myself up right then and there and be like, okay, first of all, is it worth it? If it is, say something.
Yes.
Don't let this, us men, we got this pride thing where it's like we don't want to look like no sucker. We don't want to
Yeah.
look soft and this and the third. And it's like,
boy.
who said that?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right.
Who made that, official?
But
But
honestly, it started. I'm sorry, Dad.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
It started from when you're a little boy, right?
Mhm.
When the men were telling y'all, boys don't cry, boys don't this, boys don't that, and boys are supposed to be this, and boys are supposed to be that. And like, yes, y'all are the stronger vessel. Yes, y'all are built to be able to shoulder more. But at the same time, especially once you get to be a man and a husband, we are your helpmeet. Like, how many times did I say, I am not your enemy? We are in this together. Like,
Count.
we're working this together. This is not something that we're working against each other, or like you got your stance and I got mine and we got to be on opposite ends with the boxing gloves on. No, we are in this together. We're supposed to be building together. We're supposed to be doing all this together. So we need to communicate that. And a lot of times our two separate styles actually can complement each other.
Compliment. Yes.
Yeah.
They do.
Yep.
So like, y'all got parent teacher conversations.
That's how you know you're the perfect match when y'all both like she could be at times, and it's not always a bad thing to be an aggressor. You know what I mean? Like depending on if you're advocating for yourself, some people will take that as like, oh, you advocate for yourself. But sometimes where you going too far, that's where I come in because I'm more of the peaceful type, and now I'm bringing her down, and now she's looking at the situation like, you're right, I ain't have to go do backflips like that. I
Still working. The Lord's still working
You know
on
what I
it.
What's funny with us is like we're both in different situations, right? So like we had a whole thing, y'all had a neighbor thing, we had a neighbor thing too. And like I would be like, babe, chill. Because like they would be outside all times of night. I mean, making all types of noise and stuff. People was at the end of our driveway one time. They was having a let out after the let out.
No, seriously.
Literally next to, I mean, they were advertising it.
Yes,
When the club
they were
closed, this is where
advertising.
you go. Seriously. So it was somebody like at the end of our driveway one night or whatever.
Leaning on
It's like
our arms.
middle of the night or whatever. This dude runs outside. I was like, babe.
I wasn't by myself. I had my shotgun.
Yeah, that thing with you.
Rightfully
That
so.
thing,
It's
yeah.
like, babe, you can't. No, you're not. But then there's other times where, like, if we're out or something and our order gets messed up or whatever, he like, nah, it's good, it's all right. And I'm like,
It's not
no,
good.
they're gonna get this right.
That's
like. And
funny.
listen, we're paying for this. They're gonna make sure that our stuff is right, or they're gonna fix something. Like we just went out recently, and there was something wrong with one of our sister's desserts, and I was like, "It's the one that's not gonna." She's like, "No, it's just fine." I was like, "No, when he come back, he gonna get told about this because
When
what
that
we're
bill
not doing."
come, they gonna want that payment to be right.
There you
So
go.
you right, you get that.
So it's just it's different situations
Yeah.
where
To speak more on that incident, with the after party and stuff, and the neighbors. In my mind, and I think this is all of us. We're the protector, so it's like I can't let this go down. Like I feel like less of a man if I let this go down. But again, a lot of that is street talk as well. It's not how we would handle things.
it's that pride again.
There you go. So that was a lot of it. But
It's
at
like,
the
"No,
same
man,"
time, I was
because they
thinking,
think they could just get away, and I'm like,
Right.
babe,
but
it's not worth it.
right. And she's right. It wasn't worth it. And it could have, been totally different, which is where we need discernment and restraint.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we can be men and be
Discernment and restraint.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
It's good having that. And that's another thing too that I love about marriage is, if we married the same exact person, like it would probably be boring. So it's good to have somebody that's different because like I know that Kyron, he can bring me down. You know what I mean? I'm gonna advocate for him. He gonna bring me down when I'm up there because, like I said, the Lord's still working on me. But also, sometimes the Most High will use us to say something to one another. And if you don't know how to communicate and you're not in a place to learn how to listen, because that's a big important part of communication is listening. If you're not in a position to do that and listen without offended ears, you'll miss what God is trying to say to you through your spouse.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if he can't get it through nobody else, he gonna use Kyron, he gonna use me, he gonna use Tammy, or he gonna use Doug. And I think that being in a position to just listen and hear,
Mhm.
and also being able to hear the Most High's voice in it, it just keeps the enemy out. Because at the end of the day, when your communication is poor in a marriage, it definitely opens up the door for the enemy to come in and stir up all type of drama and confusion and chaos. And this is why you see marriages saying, "Oh, I got divorced because too much conflict and arguing." Well, let me tell you something. If you think you're going to walk into a marriage and you're not going to have conflict and you're not going to have arguing, you better think about it again. Because let me tell you something. We all just sat here and told y'all how we started out. So, it's not saying you're going to meet somebody that's going to be perfect in that particular area. You can have all the marital counseling you want. And still, when a difficult situation comes up, communication might not be great.
You gotta, in a marriage, seriously, you gotta want it, and it's work. At the end of the day, it's work. This is not a fairy tale in the movies where you complete me. That's all garbage.
What you said? Say it again. No,
You complete me.
You complete me.
Mom, it's not true.
You don't complete me. I should already come as a package myself. What you do is enhance me.
Yeah.
You're now an extension of me. You are a part of me. But we don't complete each other.
Man.
But also, too, like, I think sometimes people lose the other part of it too, right? Because you'll hear married people say all the time, marriage is work. Yes, marriage is work. We all gonna say it because it's all the truth. Marriage is work. But we have made up in our mind and we determine every day that it's worth the work. First of all. And marriage is fun, guys.
It really is. Y'all hear us up here? We laughing about all this stuff. Of course, in the moment, it's not a laughing matter. But when we go back and we look on it and we be like, man, remember that time we got to it over that little stupid situation?
Listen, I'm sorry. Let me
Oh my God, Lord. What he about to say?
I'm gonna try and make this real quick. So we were recording episode 3, right? We recorded episode 3, and the day before, we had a disagreement, and it was for the preparation of episode 3. Something I did wrong as far as structuring the next day so we can record, and got everything lined up so we could do it. So, but the way she communicated, it was what I needed to hear. Now that I look back at it and laugh at it, like, Kyron, you was tripping, she right, just be quiet. Not the happy wife, happy life mindset, but just being real with myself, like, she was right, like, get out your feelings. But then in the moment, I'm in my feelings, right? But again, with me, I'll get in my feelings and I will stay there because I feel like that's the right thing to do, okay?
Yes.
I'm gonna stay right there for as long as I feel like I need to. To the point where I carry it over the next day. So now what we look like... Now look at us going. She over it. She trying to show me TikTok videos and funny videos. I'm sitting there like, yeah, that's funny. Now I'm like, she know I'm front. She like,
I'm missing myself.
I feel her looking at me like, this the same video we laughed at like this. We laugh at this all the time. You front right now, but okay, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you do you.
The crazy thing about that, Kyron, is the woman that she is, and me being just like you in those moments, she doesn't change. Like, it's crazy. She will still bring me my food. She will still. It's like,
it's amazing, bro.
It is.
It's like, but in a weird way, it's like,
what are you doing?
Stop. Don't
because I'm trying to
see me right now. You about to. Now after I eat, I'm gonna tell you, don't do that.
They want to stay masked so bad.
Right, and I'm like, what are we about to eat for dinner?
Yes.
These noodles good. Good old pasta.
I came to the podcast. I was excited. The morning come. I'm like, "Ooh, babe, we should go live. We should." And it just felt dry the whole time in the morning. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's just waking up. We get there. I walk in. I mean, immediately, because I'm one of them people that discern spirits. And I walked in. I was like, "Woo! This Joker is still mad
over some dumb stuff."
I was like,
"Oh my God, yes."
We couldn't even get through the intro of the podcast. I was like,
now the cameras are rolling, right? Now I feel like I can. Listen, I can't even get through it. Yo, sis, look. So boom. We a few minutes in, I kicked off the episode.
Don't tell about
you. Yeah. No.
We still gonna do that episode.
Right. So right. Gotcha. Good call. So, I'm going through. I'm opening up the episode, and we rolling, and she go to ask me something, and based off of whatever she was talking about at the time, I heard it the wrong way. Now we're recording an episode, and I want to wait till now to hear something the wrong way.
Yeah.
But what I did in my response was, I was like, okay, this is how I heard it, but I had to check it. But I still was kind of being like, I was being funny. I'm sitting here like, just, shoulders all buff. Like, why am I doing all this? Just looking goofy.
Yep.
So I passed it to her. I'm like, so what you think? She was like,
Yeah.
I'm a step away. I was like, where are you going? Just acting goofy. Like I don't know what time it is. So we get to the whole thing, the cameras is rolling. I look back at the footage. I'm just sitting there like, and I'm looking at myself like, yo, you prideful, bro.
Yeah.
So you were
prideful.
communicating with her at that moment, because for some reason, people hear communicate and they just think about talking.
Yeah.
But nonverbal communication is communication.
Yeah.
So all
It's
your
just
body
wrong.
language,
Yeah.
all your body language was giving her was, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. You get on my nerves. You make me sick. All that. And like, we see all of that.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we be like, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And we're still going to do, and I'm still going to be me. And you're still my
And
husband.
at the same time, because we love our wife, there's a part of us that still feel bad, but our pride won't let it
go.
won't. And I think I'm doing an awesome job hiding how I feel. I got my, she said, we the only two in the room. I got my AirPods in, listening to music, setting up, and just doing whatever. And she just looking at me like, how long this gonna last?
And do you
let you rock?
You know how many times I've told him, like, dude, we've been married 21 years. I know you.
Why am I moving?
So when
That's
one of
actually
them
an
changes,
insult. That's actually an insult to our wife, to be so prideful to the point where you try and move in a way as if they don't know you. And this is what I'm telling myself in the midst of my pride, like, yo, you wildin'. All you got to do is stop. Like, who you doing this for? Like, ain't nobody watching you. Like, the Most High is watching you, and he waiting for you to be like, bro, you're like, you tripping. Like, relax.
When I'm in those, I'm sorry. But you are so much a mirror of me right now.
Yeah.
Because when I'm like that,
when we were
and
8
she's
years
talking,
in,
like when she's talking to me, I'm mad, but I'm like, gosh, she's so fine. But I can't let her know.
Right. I can't break down in a moment.
Funny. But you can't tell her.
Can't tell her.
Let me tell you how mad I was at that episode. I did my makeup, and I mean, I did it. I contoured it. I put lashes on. I was so angry. I ripped the eyelashes off. And I threw them in my purse and I stormed out. I was like, you need to get it together.
Yeah.
I was so upset. But even in that, y'all, like, I wish y'all was there to see the communication piece, because all I'm pleading to him is like, I am not the enemy. I am on your side. And everything I'm telling you is what you need to hear, because in order for us to get to the next level that the Most High has for us, we have to be able to listen to instruction. And it might come through your wife or your husband. And if you can't receive instruction that's given from the Most High through them, you're gonna miss what he has for you. And so I'm like, man, this podcast is so much bigger than what we think it is. This is going to destroy so many narratives that are out there. It's going to literally put a foothold on the enemy, because at the end of the day, the enemy don't want to see us doing this.
right?
He don't even want to see all of us sitting here. But he defeated, so whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we're doing this because this is supposed to glorify the Most High. This glorifies him. Two people coming together in covenant and union, going through life together, having those difficult moments, those difficult transitions. Yes, they're gonna happen. But being able to sit down and say, you know what? Yeah, I was tripping. I could have said that better. I could have responded better, or I should have just listened and let you talk. That's been one of my things, is being quiet. Just listening. Like,
Wow.
just listening. Like, Kyra's like, why can't you just listen to me? And I'm like, because I don't want to hear, you're not saying anything that I want to hear. So, but how that makes him feel, it then makes me feel bad. Because like I said, you don't want your spouse to feel like, dang, man, I don't appreciate you. I don't care about you. But that's what it says when you don't listen.
Right.
So,
and you got to know too, the reason why it's such a struggle. Every time y'all get ready to film an episode, right? There's always something.
Oh,
Every time y'all get ready to film an
Every
episode,
time.
there's something that pushes y'all time frame back, or
Mm-hmm.
something happens between y'all and y'all like, oh, well, now we just gonna have to wait to do it because we can't portray this over the podcast, whatever. It's because the enemy don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
For the reason of the transparency, the showing people, and then
Yo,
the letting people
right.
know that, like, yes, these things happen, but because we have a relationship with the Most High and He has blessed our union, like, we always come back together.
Yeah.
We always go back to the word first and foremost,
Yes.
even if we don't
Yes.
verbally say we're going back to the word, like, because we know those principles in marriage, we always take it back to the word told us to do. Like, y'all know how I won him so well. I mean, we were married for years and then a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, y'all know I was coming to church by myself and stuff, like, whatever, because I learned how to shut up. For real. And I learned how to just pray. And I learned that, what I was saying, I wasn't beating him over the head with the word or whatever, but like, I was making sure that my conversation was chaste. I was making sure that the difference was being, because I once I heard this, I ran with it. You can't change somebody else, right? You change the way that you act in a situation. You change the way that you respond to certain things. And my communication style definitely changed once I started thinking about, like, okay, what could I do better? What could I do different? How can I say this different? How can I receive what he's saying in a better way? And once you change your mindset, you will change your life. You will change the dynamics of your marriage. And I mean, like, people are so quick to give up. If I gave up, every time it got harder, every time he got on my nerves, like, we would have been done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My God. Talk
Is it
about
safe to say that you were at a point where you were trying to make Doug have a relationship with the Most High, and when you realize that that's not your job to, here, y'all two meet and do this, like, you had to, like, you know what, like you said, you had to pray. Well, you kind of did answer it. You had to pray. You had to step back and pray so you could let that be, because he still has his walk with the Most High. Like, that's something that he has to do with his relationship with the Most High.
Right.
So I kind of never really did that.
Okay.
Because when we got married, we both were already saved, as the community says. We both were, we were already in it. And the thing was, after we were married, Doug started searching because stuff just wasn't sounding right. Stuff just wasn't lining up, whatever. So he started searching and he wound up.
I was all over the map.
Yeah. He said the map.
And in my mind, I was laughing, and I said, if this dude say one more thing that is off the wall, I mean, y'all, we have to talk one day so y'all can hear all the stuff that he was researching and believing that, oh, this is where we were from, and this is
Originated from,
like all this stuff. And I was like, there is one true God.
Yeah.
And like, this is all the stuff that was in my mind, but I wasn't beating him over the head with it. I wasn't, like, I might have told him he was tripping a couple times.
Right.
But I never did the whole, whatever. I just kept taking the children. Your daddy in the bed, but we going to church. Like, like, we need to read the word, like, that's what I just kept doing that. And I just lived it. I just lived it. I modeled it. We talked about that, right? I modeled the behavior. And it wasn't even, then one day we came to the conclusions almost at the same time. And stuff started lining back up, and it brought him back, right? But that also goes back to his upbringing, because his mother raised him up in a way.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
And it goes back to you too, staying consistent and not giving up and not throwing in the towel. And I just want to encourage anybody that's watching, if you're going through something in your marriage, if it can be worked out, work it out.
Work it out.
Trust me when I tell you, it is not all glitter and gold. There's moments when you hurt, there's moments when you're upset, there's moments when you want to be done, but I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, when you do it and you keep the Most High first, you'll get so many things that God has for you just by doing right with your spouse.
Yes.
So don't
You're
quit.
welcome.
Don't quit, people. Don't quit.
No, what you're saying is so true, because every time it seemed like I would deviate from what the Most High wanted me to do as the head of the household and not honor my Proverbs 31 woman, it seemed like that's when things would go south for me. But the minute I, would get back in line and understand that she is not the enemy and she has my back, she is my, my helpmate.
Yeah.
Things came back. They always got back in line. always.
And what's so funny, I always made him laugh after the fact. Like while stuff was going on, I'd be sitting there going, mm-hmm. And then once it was done and over and we good, I'd be like, every time you don't treat me right, something happened, right? I pulled over and got a ticket right after
crazy.
you had an issue with me. Like,
That's
literally
sweet.
all that type of
And
stuff.
again, my pride be like, no, it ain't. That's not why I got a ticket.
Yep.
I was gonna get that ticket anyway.
Yep. And that's so crazy. I really appreciate this time with y'all because there's a lot of areas where I feel like I'm the only one, and I'm not. Like it's just that's
Not at all.
like
Right.
when you're in pride. Like for me, when I'm activated in full blown pride, I feel like everything I'm doing at that point, I don't care if it's anything around the house, like everything's just going to be on point. And then when I mess up, or I'll just end up, I could end up breaking something, or it could be something real simple. I'll be like, see, you wouldn't have broke that if you wasn't. I'm telling myself in my pride, I'm checking myself about my pride. Like if you just let it go and just act right, like you wouldn't be making these simple mistakes, or you wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? Like you would not have to be doing all this. So again, I really appreciate
that pride
this
is
story.
something else, man. I'm telling you.
That's a whole episode on its own.
Oh my goodness.
On today's episode of Pride,
That's part two
for that one. Just pride alone, for real.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, because I would, man. I'd be like, babe, you got to do it like this, and he'd be like, no, I know what I'm doing, and he keeps going and going and going, and then 1 hour later,
chill, bro.
1 hour.
I know that already.
You know,
5 hours.
You know, I'm strong in putting things together. How about you let me help you with that?
Because she a whole mechanic. Like she love building stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And I'm the one that I'm not gonna do it until you were supposed to do it last week, and it's still not done. So now I'm gonna go do it, and then you're gonna be talking about, babe, I was gonna do it, but you mad because you wanted your stuff that you wanted me to do done right away.
That's funny.
But I asked you to do this last week, and you still ain't do it. Now you mad because I do it. Now I ain't that one to be like, when I'm mad, I'm gonna just move the refrigerator myself. No, the refrigerator just gonna stay there until
I ain't moving the refrigerator. Well, hold on. Let me rethink that.
You would if you really wanted to.
I would.
You would.
Before we end this session, I just want y'all to give the people who are watching some advice or wisdom as to hold on, because I had the question in my mind. Y'all pray for me. As far as any advice to newly married couples or people that have been married for a long time that, their marriage is on the rocks due to communication issues, what type of advice would you give those people? I know we kind of mentioned some of it, but just like if you can close us out with some,
Well, what I would basically say is, especially people just getting married, stick with it. Change the mindset that you had as an individual or a single person, and renew your mindset to the fact that you are now, you're linked with someone else, and understand that basically if you supply what they need, then if they're the person for you, they're going to do the same for you. So both needs will be met. Don't go into this thinking, as a lot of people do, that, oh, this is separate, that's separate. That brings up a whole lot of other issues. So go into it, like I said, with a mindset of, this is the person that I'm in a union with, and we're going to work on this together. Give your marriage more than 5 minutes before you think you need to throw in the towel. It takes time. You may know that person. Wow. You got to know them enough to marry them, but there's still more growth. You're going to both change. And this is why I can't stand when people say we grew apart. How? All you did was you're seeing things differently now because you're more mature, you're older. So talk about those things where you feel you grew apart from, and then decide how we can, grow back together.
Wow. So I have a couple things. First, my first thing is listen more than you talk.
Absolutely.
If you listen more than you talk, like what's the old saying? We got 2 ears and 1 mouth, because you're supposed to listen twice as much, right? Listen more than you talk. If you're constantly, well, this, but you're not listening to the other person, excuse me, that gives the opportunity for all the other stuff to come in, right? Where all the big disagreements come from something so small. And then if you can trace it, because a lot of times you can't even trace it, but if you can trace it and you trace it back, you're like, that was so menial. Like big things come out of these really small things for no reason sometimes because we're not listening, right? And then my other thing, my biggest thing, I don't know if it directly goes into communication, but the fact that so many people go into marriage with the thought that, oh, if it doesn't work out, we can just get divorced. Like,
Yeah.
I
already defeated yourself.
I told this man from the very beginning, and I mean, we joke about it. Bishop was just joking about it today. Like, there is no if it don't work out. There is no, nah, we said till death do us part, and I mean that. Like, you want to leave? Where are we going? Where you move? No,
They already put in the just in case.
So I really said that before, and that's why we think it's so funny every time Bishop references it, because I literally told him that, like, if you think you're leaving, I guess we all leaving, because
For real.
And so many people, because someone had said something, and I don't know if I saw it on Instagram or something, but someone was talking about marriage that had no business talking about marriage. I'm just being real. I'm sorry. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
Lord.
it's a covenant.
Yeah.
Let's get it right. It's a
the
covenant.
paper is the representative
That's
of the
all it
covenant, and
is.
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's a whole word right there. Literally.
Yeah.
Just within itself.
Yeah.
It is a
Wow.
covenant.
This was amazing.
It was. And I just want to encourage y'all, get around people who are married.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There has been so many times that I've been able to go to my sister and be like, yo, sis, man, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm ready to go to jail. I'm ready to throw it all away. She like, nah, sis, you just gotta keep going. You gotta pray. You
I
can't
ain't
be the
that
weapon.
bad, y'all.
Look, you
And
can't-
what's but you know what's the biggest thing I usually say, right? Is there something that you could do different in the situation?
always pointing back to me, and that's why I love her, because she keeps me accountable. I don't want a yes friend.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. I'm jacked up in my mind. Terrible confession me until I don't want to hear it no more. But do not let me live on this earth and I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, and you don't
Right.
say anything,
Right.
because that's not love. Okay.
It's not.
So I'm gonna keep it 110. My sister has played a large role in us getting to the point we are now. And that's why I'm saying this. Get around people that is going to speak life into your marriage. People who have been through something, people who have been married longer. You know, they've been through stuff we ain't even touched. This is the small piece of the surface. You know what I mean? But they can speak to the things that, you know, we are going through, or maybe the things that we might go through, and vice versa. So we all have to make sure we are fellowshipping with people who are you know, like-minded and just going in the direction that we're trying to go in. So I appreciate y'all for real, man.
Thank you.
And stop, y'all know we could talk all night, so I'm a really shut up.
Yeah.
But
right.
no, really, no, for real.
Bonus footage.
We done spent 2 hours.
I mean,
talking
after we have already been somewhere for 2 or 3 hours, rode home together, and then sat in the driveway for another 2 hours talking. For real. But honestly, and it always points back to the word and what the Lord told us and whatever. But stop letting them single people in your ear. Stop letting them bitter divorced people in your ear. And especially the ones that are actively seeking a relationship, but they telling you to leave yours.
Come on, somebody.
Because how much sense does that make, right?
Yeah.
And again, it points back to this is covenant. And the people, everybody doesn't have the same mindset. So you got people that have that, oh, it's just a piece of paper mindset, telling you to leave something that is covenant. And I mean, don't get us wrong, because, you know, we always say there are reasons, safety reasons and all that stuff, where sometimes you have to leave, you have to call it quits.
Right.
But when it's something that can be worked out, when it's something, especially if it's something to do with communication, fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it.
And be willing to fix
Yes.
it. Because that's the other piece. You got to be willing to fix whatever that situation is. And, you know, I just thank y'all for tuning in.
Yeah.
We have some things we want to say first, real quick, before we end. Y'all make sure y'all follow, like, share, subscribe. Ashford Films, y'all need podcasts.
All right.
Oh, my bad. I keep talking. I'll be
You're promoting the mic, so you ain't talking to the mic. Talking to the mic.
Okay, so yeah, you see this mic right here? This is Ashford Films podcast equipment. We come with all of this, so make sure y'all
Yes.
book him for whatever your needs are. And then
Change your words, book us.
book us. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? That's my dog right there. book us for whatever your needs are.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Y'all listening podcast. Y'all stay tuned in. We are not gonna let the enemy try to stop us. We know we supposed to be doing this, so y'all just be patient with us because we gonna get these episodes out here.
All right.
Y'all make
Faster, more
sure,
consistent.
and I want y'all to make sure y'all promote y'all brand too. So says you got your favorite by Tammy. Go ahead and put that out
Favorite
there.
by Tammy. I do favors, party stuff. I do so much stuff. If you want a gift basket, anything, that type of thing that you want, I'm sure I can probably make it happen for you. So look me up, Favorite by Tammy.
And I represent Davy Fit LLC, personal fitness and training. So if you in the market for that, look me up. I'm on YouTube. You can also see me on Facebook.
Nice. And shout out to this location, this beautiful spot that we're in. Shout out to my guy Dwayne James of Comfy Art. This is his establishment. As you can see, the beautiful art behind us. He sell art pieces he make them all from scratch. The boy's dope. He do
Comfy
art, tattoos. Yeah, he is a pure artist. He's super dope. So shout out to him for allowing us to use this location. And again, thank y'all so much for tapping in and tuning in to y'all listening podcast.
Don't forget to tell them everything up here is for sale, right?
Yep. You see something
It's
you
all
like?
for sale.
Go and hit them up. I'll put his information. How they do where they point at the
the bottom of the
yeah,
screen.
plug it in. I mean, but yeah, no. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank y'all too for
Yes.
being our
Thank
first
y'all
guest
for
on the
having
podcast.
us.
Yes.
This was so dope. Make sure you stay tuned in for episode 4 on the way. Peace.